It can be heard in the back. Okay. You ready? Okay. We're probably ready 5 minutes. All right. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Fresh Squeezed Gallery Talk. We're very excited to introduce 2 of our Fresh Squeezed artists to you all this evening. We have Camilla Byrd and Jade Archbold that are going to be speaking with us tonight. And we're very excited to have them in the gallery and part of Fresh Squeeze this year. So for those of you who do not know, let me back up and say, my name is Amanda Cooper. I'm the Chief Curator here for the Moran Art Center. And we started Fresh Squeezed in 2017 as a way to celebrate the Moran's 100th anniversary. The Moran was founded in 1917. And this will not turn into a history lesson, but in 2017, we were trying to think of ways that we could show how we've been embedded in the arts community for 100 years. And one of them is how we usually exhibit the work of emerging artists. So we decided to come up with an exhibition that did it intentionally, which we've been doing organically for 100 years. So Fresh Squeeze was born, and it's a statewide exhibition, and every year we put out a call for entry online, and we get anywhere from 100 to, this year we got a record 200 entries from around the state, and we only have 6 slots to fill. If you've seen the show, there's only 6 artists in the show, so it's really difficult to go through 200 entries and to narrow it down to 6, but there were 6 amazing artists in the show, 2 of whom we're going to hear from tonight. And first we're going to hear from Camilla, and these 2 artists that are going to be speaking tonight, they have some things in common. They have USF in common. I'm going to let them talk more about themselves personally, but and also you'll see their use of color and their use of pattern in their work kind of ties them both together, but obviously they both have their very distinct styles, that being said. And now we're going to hear from Camilla, and how this is going to work is we're going to hear from Camilla, and we can have a Q&A probably at the end after we hear from Jade, and in between we'll just move everything over to the other side of the gallery just so you guys in attendance know. You're just going to have to turn your chairs around, so it should be very smooth. All right, so Camilla, come on down. Hold up.
Thank you, Amanda, for that lovely introduction, and thank you everyone who came. And thanks, Maureen, for choosing me, because this was just such a good experience. This is my first artist talk, so I'm like, hopefully this, I stay on track here. But just to start it off with a Barbara Kingsolver quote, people's dreams are made out of what they do all day. The same way a dog that runs after rabbits will dream of rabbits, it's what you do that makes your soul, not the other way around. I just love that quote. A little bit about me. So I was born in 1991. I grew up in Florida. And I've pretty much lived in the Pinellas County my whole life, which apparently is rare. I don't meet very many people who are from Florida. I am the youngest of 5, and I grew up in a very fundamentalist Christian upbringing that was also mixed with a lot of mental illness, and I would say primarily with my dad. He was undiagnosed growing up, but he's bipolar and schizophrenic, and so when you mix that with, sort of hell and brimstone theology, it gets a little bit crazy. So that was, to sum it up in a really short way, it was traumatic. But I feel like with why that ties into my art is a lot of what I'm trying to do is sort of come to terms with what was beneficial from childhood, and also sort of I feel like because of that upbringing for me, I had such a responsibility at a young age, and I feel like I didn't really have a childhood. Looking back, I was just always feeling so responsible for my family, and sort of holding my family together. So in a lot of my paintings, you'll see like baby dolls and like figures laying in the grass and toys and like two girls, you know, crammed in a t-shirt in kind of like a childlike way. It's me sort of like, I guess like in a way in my adulthood trying to get in touch with like a childhood that did or didn't exist for me. So at a young age, I was always like creative and I was always artistic, but I wasn't really like, I mean, I was drawing and stuff, but I never painted. In fact, the first creative outlet for me was music. So I played jazz trumpet at like 9 years old, and I thought that was gonna be my whole life. And I fell in love with it, and oddly enough, I feel like it like really, really plays into painting because of the way that you kind of are making brushstrokes in a spontaneous way. They really lend to each other. So I love talking to like musicians about their practice because I feel like they work hand in hand. So graduated high school, I went to SPC, and at the end of my AA degree, I enrolled in like a beginning painting class just because I needed an elective, and I just thought it would be fun to do. And in that class, we just painted with acrylic, and it was fun. And I was like, oh, I feel like I'm kind of good at this. And I feel like I got compliments, and I was like, yeah, I guess I am kind of good at this. And then I just like left it there, and I was like doing like little watercolor paintings here and there, but like I was never making painting after painting. It wasn't a thing I was doing. So it wasn't until 2020 that I picked up oil paints for the first time during the pandemic, and I loved it. There's just like something really buttery about the texture of oil paints, and I started painting people, and that to me felt like I was like connecting with loved ones, and they got excited when I paint them too. It felt special to say like, can I paint you? And they'd be like, yeah, you want to paint me? And I'd be like, of course I do. And so that was also just kind of, you know, just like something fun I was gonna do because I was out of work. You know, the cafe I worked at closed, and I was like, I guess I should do something, you know. And then in 2021, I lost a childhood best friend to a fentanyl overdose, and which was completely like life altering for me. But if there is anything good that came from that, I connected with her family, whom I grew up with, and her mom and I are close, and she was like, Camilla, what do you want to do? And do you want to go to school? And I'm like, yeah. I mean, that feels like a privilege that I don't deserve. I don't know. Like, what am I gonna do? And she's like, well, you love art. Like, you could teach it. Just get a bachelor's degree and teach. And so I enrolled in 2021 to USF, and still I hopefully will graduate in the fall with my bachelor's degree. And so all of this work here I've created in my undergrad years at USF. So where I find inspiration, many other places than these, but just some artists here. You can read them, I won't read them all. One I will highlight though is Alice Neel. Love Alice Neel. I reference her in like so many different ways. She's just a badass. I love her. Books and films. I feel like whether indirectly or directly, they're always going to influence like how I'm viewing, you know, childhood memories and like how I'm relating to the world. I feel like, especially books lately, and life experiences, childhood memories, and then fashion photography. So here are the painting influences. Alice Neel, David Hockney. I'm drawing a lot of color palette from David Hockney. If I'm feeling like, okay, I have a composition in mind, but I'm not sure what to do with the colors, I'm gonna, like, in the past I've just pulled up one of his paintings, like this one right here, and I've just taken colors directly from his painting because they're gonna work. I mean, it's David Hockney. And I also love Wolf von Lekovich, because it's just like the way that he's just weird and, I don't know, unique, and I love his figures and the way he's like painting these sort of like magical realism portraits. And currently my biggest obsession is Anthony Cudhay, and like later on in I'll show you how I'm kind of directly riffing off the way he handles paint. But just, I love him. I love the way he moves paint around in like a washy way, and the color he uses. So some recurring themes in my work: sisterhood, womanhood. I'm a woman, and I have 2 sisters, and I think women are important. None of us would be here without them. Fragility of being human, childhood memory, identity, historical painting. Ambiguity is a big one for me. I really love putting things in paintings, and I don't really want to explain them. I kind of like for the viewer to look at it and be like, oh, why is that, why is that clock in that painting, it's fun for me to watch people try to make some sense of the paintings, because for me, I know why they're there, but I like the idea of like the viewer putting themselves within a painting and making their own narrative about it. So also another just huge thing for me within every piece that I've made, I'm reconciling close relationships with this connection versus disconnection thing. And in the next examples, I'll show you that. But so the work that I'm making today, one of the first portraits I did is me and my husband. This is David Hockney painting that I directly riffed off of Mr. and Miss Clark and Percy. So this is also a connection versus disconnection. I will say, going into the painting, I did not mean for us to look so sad and separate. People always said that, you guys look so sad. I'm like, well, we're newly engaged, but the idea with the painting was that there was like supposed to be an autonomy in this painting within ourselves. So I think one thing as an adult I'm like learning is like this kind of like draw to codependency that I'm trying to move away from. So for me, I thought it will be powerful if we're in separate rooms and we're just our own like beings, but it does read a little bit disconnected, but I'm good with that because that's real. I mean, seriously. But my husband's here tonight, so I won't say anything. Also, I will say that I have made a painting since then called The Newlyweds, where we're in the same room, so I rectified that. Another example is in photography, how I'm like referencing historical paintings. And that also brings me to like conducting my own photo shoots for references. This is something I just started doing. I just got like a flash and started working with like ambient light in a flash and trying to construct these backdrops and working with models and trying to get a little bit more in control of the references that I'm using. And I'm again like, this is all about like sisterhood. In the middle is my sister and I right here. And then I'm also kind of riffing off of maybe some religious undertones that I'm coming to terms with. And I love photography. I just want to say that like I think I'm gonna explore this more, but like if I can do all that through photography, why would I paint? That's a big question. And a lot of people have different answers for like, what's painting versus photography. And there's a lot of strong opinions out there, but for me personally, like painting just allows me to reinterpret life on my own terms. I feel like with painting, I have more control over what I'm doing because at least for me as an amateur photographer, I only have so much control over lighting and, what my model's posing is gonna be like and the hair and like, with painting, I can make crazy choices, I can give them orange skin or like, I can do anything. And I feel like for me, that's really important to get this sort of, to achieve this kind of freedom with my art. To sum it up, like photography is a collaboration between me and my subjects. And painting is a collaboration between me and the medium. It's really about me and that relationship that I have with art and that freedom that I get with painting. Okay, so process. And I have a couple of these, and I'll try to keep this moving so no one's too bored, because I feel like I've already talked for like 3 hours. But process. So this is the painting on the other side of this wall called Sawgrass, and this is kind of like a process that I use for most of the paintings that I've done. I start with this really vibrant underpainting, and sometimes I'm really methodical about how I'm choosing the color, and sometimes it's just like whatever I feel like. But so I start with a really vibrant color, and then I put a drawing on top, and this is it just kind of coming together in stages. I love to I don't know, I always love to go back and forth and see how they progress. So this is that artist, Anthony Cudahy, and like in the background, that's exactly who I'm referencing here. If you look at the background in his interiors, that's me just kind of like, that was a new thing for me. I'm really like blended, and I like to put like thick layers. And so that was fun for me to do a sort of wash with the paint. And then here is fashion photography that I referenced for the pose. And I would tell you the reference, but it's a screenshot from Pinterest. I don't think Pinterest knows what the reference is. And then here's my most recent painting, and just an example of like the preliminary sketches that I do. A little thumbnail, actually that's pretty big. That's like a 8x10 drawing. And then me sort of like blocking it out on the canvas. And that's Sebastian. This is my model. Also a very close friend. Shout out Sebastian if you ever watch this. And then that's the final. And then Hypnagogia. This is the biggest painting that I've made, diptych. Visual references for that. I just had finished watching Poor Things and was just taken aback by the fashion in that. Visually, it's a beautiful film, and I thought it was really powerful. Some photo shoots that I conducted, and then some drawings that I did. I have many more drawings, but I didn't have my sketchbook with me when I was putting this together. I have like, I don't know if anyone can relate to this, but like 7 notebooks, and I don't know, there's no organization. So anyways, there's a couple drawings. So for this one, there was no like deep meaning why I chose red. This is an example of like, I saw this and I was like, oh, this gummy bear is awesome, let's make a red painting. Nothing really deep. I think some people want some like deep, sentimental, emotional like explanation, but sometimes it's just, you know, it'd just be a gummy bear. And then this is just like a little video of me working in stages to fill the grass area of that painting, which was, I'll never do it again. I'll say that. I'll never paint grass like that again. It was a lot. Another painting that I did right over here, this one is the same as it ever was. The drawing, then I did like a gouache mock-up, and then the final. And then this bound by a single thread. Here's all the references I used. This is my favorite Van Gogh painting, by the way. I feel like, I don't know, I had never seen it. I saw it last year and I was like, this is an amazing painting. But I also referenced these childhood memorabilia trolls for the color palette right over here. That's this painting here. And whenever I'm making a painting in my phone, I'll make an album for the painting. I'll have photo references, I'll have historical references, contemporary painters, anything I've seen in the real world that I like, a pattern, color, anything, like person's hairstyle, something that will, you know, I'm going to use to reference this painting. And that's kind of what I'm trying to show you here, is like what I do when I'm constructing a painting. And I like to sometimes visually have them all out when I'm doing them, painting them. So here's all the references and then the final. And that's it. That's all I have. So thank you so much, again, for everyone coming and listening to my little old artist talk.
Anybody have any questions for Camilla?
about doing grad school. It's on the table, so. But eventually, it does sound like something I want to do. Are you a teacher?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
Why did you choose to do 2 canvases to make 1 painting?
Just because I didn't have room to transport that one that would be that big. I could fit exactly a painting 60 inches wide in my husband's truck. So that's it.
That makes me also ask, most of these are pretty large paintings, and is there something about the size that, you don't do smaller ones, or what's the choice behind them?
I think it's really hard to make a successful small painting. Personally, I think bigger is just also, there's just something about seeing a life-size figure that feels more empowering and powerful, and I just think it's hard for me to make a small one. I don't know. I like painting big.
Would you ever consider doing mural work? Like putting it on a giant wall?
I like that idea, but like it'd be like learning a whole new medium, I think. But spray paint seems really fun.
I want to know the name of the black and white cat that's in some of your paintings.
This one is Roman, but I also have one that's not in any of these. Its name is Kauai.
Is that the one in the engagement?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, I thought it was
We
the
just
same
want
cat.
a big body. Kauai's your government name.
How do your sisters and friends feel about being subjects of these paintings once they're done?
I've actually never painted my actual sister. I've only ever done like photo shoots with her. And she seems indifferent, to be honest, truthfully. I mean, she seems okay with it. But I feel like my friends, it's always something that gets me, like draws me closer to my friends. And I think that they seem happy about it. At least in my face, they're happy about it.
Just love your work.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Could you say more about why you started with that quote? Such a good quote.
Yeah, so, okay, great question. I'll go back to it. I think I know how to do that. I love Barbara Kingsolver as of late. I can't say that I've been a longtime fan of hers, but I just finished reading Demon Copperhead. I don't know if anyone has heard of it or read it. I also am reading another book of hers called Poison the Bible, but she's just, I feel like I can relate to her because she grew up in Appalachian, Virginia, I believe, and there it is. I think she just has a really wonderful way of writing, and I feel like when I read her books, immediately when I finished Demon Copperhead, I'm like, I gotta make a painting that's kind of, it reminds me of playing in the woods as a kid with my siblings, so I guess it's not interesting if you haven't read the book, but it's a great book. Disclaimer, there's a lot of, look into what it's about before you read it maybe, but yeah, I thought that this quote was interesting because a lot of what I'm doing too is, people make art about their dreams. I don't have like a dream journal or anything, but like, I do think that they influence the way that I'm making paintings. Like this one's called Hypnagogia, which is like a in-between state between being awake and dreams, and I think it reminds me of like being a kid and like not wanting to go to bed, and your parents are like, you gotta go to bed, and you're like trying to fall asleep, and you're like kind of in between, and you're like dreaming. I don't know, there was something about it that kind of felt like that to me, and so I saw this quote and I thought, it's just, I don't know, it felt like it fit.